A discipline that almost went bad ended up going really bad.
Welcome back to Broken Bobby's transformation page. In the late 80s, I became involved with drugs and would eventually become part of that lifestyle of trafficking, addiction, and violence. Over the next 20 years, I would be in and out of jail and prison. If you're thinking about trying something or you're dealing with addiction, your life don't need to go down the same path mine did. I hurt a lot of people, both physically and emotionally. These are my stories of how I transformed my life, and you can too. Let's get it.
Welcome back to the channel. So, I was trying to think of what to name this video because I just did that video on when disciplines go bad, uh, when the boo boppy ends up boo bopping. You know what I mean? Like I did that video, and this one almost made that list, but there was a twist in the way it ends. This one ended up being tragic, and we'll get into that here in just a moment. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, drop a comment, and let me know what you think. Also, hit that notification bell so that anytime I go live or I drop a new video, you will be notified and you can check it out when you're ready. Also, share the video. It really helps to get the message out. And you can become a member. Hit that join button, look at the different levels of membership, and make a selection if you're so inclined to do so. So, this one was almost along those lines, but it had a tragic turn. So, I'm in McFarland. Uh, this is basically like level 2 custody. It's in McFarland, California, just outside of Delano. And, there was a wood in the building. For the sake of the story, we're going to call him Rooster out of respect for everybody in the family on this one, because it ended up being tragic, like I said. Uh, so, when you go to prison, there's a lot of rules that we have to abide by. And if you don't abide by these rules, then, you're going to have something coming, basically, because the machine's going to keep running, whether you want it to or not. And if you're not a part of that machine, then you're in the way. And, people get hurt really bad and sometimes unalived when they don't uh, conform to the regulations and the rules of the particular facility that you're in. Now, for the most part, the rules are the same. There are some slight variations from facility to facility, and different levels, uh, have different programs, as far as the intensity of the punishments and such. So we're in McFarland, and there's this guy, like I said, we're going to call him Rooster. I believe he was from like Huntington Beach or something like that. And he would do a lot of dealings with the blacks. And he, that's frowned upon amongst the woodpile. And well, it's more than frowned upon. Like you're not supposed to be doing that sort of stuff. There is some hypocrisy in that because leadership sometimes will do dealings with the blacks if there's products involved, let's just say. But they don't want the rank and file doing that sort of stuff. And this guy had been warned about his dealings with the blacks, and it kind of felt like he thought, he could run his own program, but that's not how things work in the California Department of Corrections, or for that matter, even in the county jails for the most part. There are some exceptions to the rule, but not very many. Now, dude had been warned and warned, and they were really trying to like dude wasn't new to the penal system, so he had a pretty good idea of how things run, and the rules and regulations. And it wasn't that he was ignorant, he was just choosing to not follow the rules. So at some point they decided, okay, we're gonna get this guy off of the yard, and they put a couple of guys on him. And now Rooster, he was like a surfer guy. Like I said, I think he was from Huntington Beach or somewhere in Orange County. And he, not a real big guy, not a small guy, probably 5'10, 180 ish. Kind of surfer look with the long hair, and seemed like a pretty good guy. I didn't have a lot of dealings with him, but he kept pushing that line, and eventually what happens is you're gonna get smacked. And they told him, you need to go to the restroom area. You got something coming. And he went back there. Now let me explain to you what the dorm looked like where we were, to kind of put some context to this. So the front row, I'm trying to remember. Okay, so there were rows of bunk beds, and then there were Cadillac beds up towards the front. Now, what a Cadillac bed is it's just a single bunk. You don't have a bunkie up above you, and those were ideal. Like that's what you wanted, basically. But then towards the back of the dorm, there was like a brick wall that ran, and then an opening in the middle, and then you had like the toilets and such back there. So they, there were cameras in this place, but there weren't any in the restrooms. And so he goes back there, and they send a couple guys back there to get on him. And initially, they jump on him, they're boo bopping. Well, he's fighting back, and he gains an edge, but instead of staying in there and doing his thing, he opts to try to escape and come out in between the brick walls. Well, there was another homeboy there whose main purpose was to make sure that this discipline went down according to plan. So, in other words, if for whatever reason Rooster was, gaining an advantage, basically it was his job to step in and make sure that the discipline happened the way it was supposed to. Well, Rooster goes to come running out, and the homeboy that was on standby put his leg out to trip him. Okay. Now, when he put his leg out to trip him, he fell. Rooster fell, and he hit his head on the brick wall. And when he hit the brick wall, like he started having a seizure. And, I haven't told this story before because, this one kind of bothers me a little bit. This was supposed to be basically a discipline to get rid of him or whatever. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if they were trying to get rid of him or if they were just trying to knock some sense into him. I wasn't, you know, um, I had just arrived there, so I wasn't in that circle of what was going on. But I think it was like we're gonna lump you up and show you that what you're doing is wrong. And it didn't go that way. Like he fell, and I'm probably 20 or 30 feet away. I'm trying not to look because the guards hone in on that when there's a bunch of people looking in one direction. It's kind of like dry snitching. But so he falls, hits his head, he starts seizing. And one of the guys that was in the restroom area that was back there for the discipline comes running up and kicks him in the head with those state boots on. And if you know about the state boots, like them things, you don't want to get kicked by one of those things. And when he kicked him, he just like froze. And next thing you know, there's the cops are coming in and they're performing CPR, and I'm just sitting there, I'm stunned. I'm stunned. I'm like, wow, like this really turned bad quick. And so they get the guys, they come in, they search us, they're checking us. I don't know if there was camera footage that pointed to the guys that did it, but they ended up getting all three of them and rounding him up, and they ended up, these guys were all short time, and they rounded them all up, and they ended up charging him with, unaliving him basically, which we wouldn't find out until maybe a week later. One of the COs said, "Yeah, that dude didn't make it," because they were still working on him when they took him out. Um, you know, it's one of those things that can happen when you're in prison, though. You go back there, you think you're just gonna put these things on somebody and get your point across, and next thing you know, dude's not breathing anymore. And um, it was from what I heard, that was like the first one that had happened at this facility. Like I said, it was low level. Like these types of things weren't the norm in this facility. Um, so I mean, it's not to say that those types of things don't happen in level twos, but they're not that frequent. And unfortunately, because dude didn't want to get with the program, and I'm not trying to justify their actions, but when you're in prison and you know a bigger homie than yourself comes along and says, "Hey," they tap you on the shoulder, "Hey, I need a favor. I need you to go handle this." You go handle it. And like most of these guys, I would say they had 5 years or less. They all had outdates, and they all got charged with that. And I don't know how any of that ended because I never seen those guys again. But this is the reality of prison. And uh, the thing is, if we're clean and we're not using, the chances of us ending up in prison go down drastically. Um, when I was doing time, I would say 75, 80% of the yard were addicts. And, I used to think, if everybody just got clean, there wouldn't be any need for these prisons. Well, maybe not any need, but there'd be a lot less need. There's 33 prisons in the state of California, and 75% of those inmates are addicts. So I mean, it's a crazy thing. And this was a real unfortunate story, but these are the realities of prison. So that's my story for the day. uh, I can still see his face sometimes. And I'm not that killer guy that did a quarter century in the pen, you know what I mean? So some of these prison channels have all kinds of stories and it don't seem to phase them, but they all phased me, if I'm being honest, Um, prison ain't the place to be. If you feel like you're predestined to go to prison, you're not. I wasn't. It was decisions that I continue to make that put me there. And, the thing is, it don't need to be that way. Find a trade or something, go to school, do something, start a family, because I'm sure those guys that I left in there in, this was 2005, they're still behind the walls and they're not in these low level facilities with microwaves and carpet and stuff. You know what I mean? Like these guys did what they were supposed to do. And, I'm sure now they're doing life, hoping to see the streets again. So, yeah, like I said, that's my story for the day, guys. If you're thinking about getting sober, you can do it. I believe in you. I did it. You can do it. It's just a matter of putting one foot in front of the other, one step at a time, one day at a time, 1 hour at a time, if that's what it needs to be. So, anyways, I hope everybody's having a great week. Family, fitness, and freedom are the things that allowed me to get my life together, and they can help you as well. Just build that strong group around you of people that are doing right, and you'll start doing right as well. Uh, Anyways, if you like the video, hit that like button. Uh, be sure to subscribe to the channel and share the video. It really helps to get the video out there. Hit that notification bell so that anytime I go live or drop a new video, you will be informed. I should be going live Saturday night again, probably 9-10 o'clock Cali time, so be on the lookout for that as well. Also, if you haven't yet become a member of the channel, hit that join button and check out the different levels and make a selection. Uh, anyways, don't look at the mountain, just start climbing.